Like many other young people following university, I was kind of sleepwalking through life, looking for the right opportunity. One of the shyest young boys in London, riddled with social anxiety. But in 2015, something cataclysmic happened to me. Racing thoughts, suddenly this sense of wonder and energy and fear seemed to disappear, and everything seemed to be possible. I didn't need to sleep. Thoughts seemed to be just in the ether, and I could draw and pull from these thoughts at will. I seemed to have a certain level of intuition, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I was confident, I felt gregarious, and I did not know what any of this meant. And this was a complete 180 considering who I had known myself to be. Again, super shy, or like my best friend has put it, painfully shy. That's what I knew myself to be. So this, whatever this thing was that was happening in 2015, it was confusing, but it was exhilarating. I did not know what any of this meant. This state of affairs, it culminated with me spending 4 weeks in the mental health hospital. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And so from the mental health paradigm, this thing that was happening to me, what it means is you're mentally ill, you have a lifelong disorder, you might want to take these pills for the rest of your life, you might want to try a little counseling, but fundamentally there's something wrong, and this is the best solution that we have, according to modern medicine. Now, this meaning that was derived or given from the mental health institution, it did not really answer some fundamental questions that I had. Number one, why did this thing feel like a spiritual experience? Second question, because I was taking certain substances. I was on antidepressants, and I had been smoking cannabis at the same time when all of this happened. So one of my questions was, would this have happened if I wasn't using these substances? Did these substances trigger, or were they the cause? Or is it not a factor at all? So that was another key question. And then a third question was, if this condition known as bipolar disorder, it seems to be hereditary, there seems to be no family history of this. So why me? Why did this happen? What does this all mean? Now, labels are important. For some people, being given this label of bipolar disorder, it can give one a sense of understanding. Maybe it helps one make sense of the world. Oh, this is what is wrong with me. But for me, it was the opposite. It felt like a constriction. And the confidence with which they gave me this label, I couldn't make sense of it. You're confident enough to give me a lifelong diagnosis, a lifelong label, when there's certain questions that haven't been answered. Now, let me go back to the piece about the spiritual aspect of it. The problem is, there is no room for a spiritual interpretation under the framework. And there's a saying, if the only tool you have at your disposal is a hammer, then everything is going to look like a nail. And that is what happened in my experience, because the paradigm in which they were viewing this phenomena from was mental health, mental illness, then it has to be a disorder. There has to be something wrong. And that just didn't sit right with me. And because I had too many questions, my mind was too restless, and I needed some answers. I needed to understand, what does this thing mean? And so bipolar disorder, which used to be called manic depressive, I feel like by even naming it a disorder, it can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Is it a curse? Is it a blessing? I guess it's going to depend who you ask. There's some people who say this diagnosis, this experience has been a blessing for me. And there's many who say it's a curse and it's the worst thing that could have happened to me. I've been in both schools of thoughts. In a certain moment, or in certain moments, I thought this thing was a curse. I'm like, why me? Am I consigned to go up and down in terms of these mood variations? Is that my life? At other times, I considered this thing to be a blessing because it transformed my life. It shook me out of the sleepwalking that I was doing. it showed me that this body of mine is capable of confidence. That is somewhere in this body, there is confidence, there is gregariousness, there is someone who can pursue their dreams with a relentless single-mindedness. So that is within me. Another question that I had was, what if I can channel this energy that comes from what they call the manic side of bipolar disorder? What if I can channel that energy? What would be the result? That's another question that I had. And I think one of the key things that I've understood in my journey of trying to make meaning, trying to make sense of this, because ultimately I decided to go my own way. And there's folks who have gone down the kind of medical model, and that is the path that they've chosen. But I said, let me try and figure this thing out. Let me go and kind of act on faith. There's something in me that says, listen, there's more to this, that the full story has not been captured. And so I went my own way. And this is maybe 9 years ago where all of this transpired. And so, curse or a blessing, I realized for me, it's neither in actual fact. What bipolar disorder has meant for me, it initiated a conscious conflict. Because before, I thought I was only one thing, a super shy introvert, and case closed. But what this thing did, it initiated this conscious conflict, because I now see that there's different aspects to me. And this created a tension. Because what I was trying to do, I was trying to cling onto the upside, the manic energy, and that created problems. Because in that act of trying to cling to the manic energy, what would happen inevitably is the mood would fall. And that created suffering, because I was longing for that time when I'm feeling confident again. This episode, this experience that I've had, the meaning that I've derived from it is that it's a sign and it's an opportunity for me to achieve integration, for me to achieve harmony, for me to understand and appreciate that both of these elements are contained within the whole, contained within me. And trying to suppress or cut out one aspect of these is a recipe maybe for disaster. And so for me, this whole episode has gone beyond the simplicity, the binary of a blessing or a curse. It's turned into a beautiful opportunity for me to achieve wholeness, integration, or individuation, if you will, by releasing the attempt to cling on to the manic energy. Because what I've observed in these 8 years, 9 years, is there are certain rhythms in life and within my own existence, and coming to appreciate that. So these are some of the lessons that I've derived from this experience. I'm in a place whereby the diagnosis does not explain my experience. I think as the years have gone on from 2015, that diagnosis, it now has less applicability in terms of what I'm experiencing, right? So it fails to explain my reality. That's the problem that I have with the narrow-minded framework. It fails to consider other aspects, and it assumes, maybe arrogantly, that it has all of the answers. But I'm like, this phenomena that happened to me, it can be looked at from different angles, and we might arrive at different conclusions. And I'm very glad that I asked those questions and went down my own pathway, because now it's put me on this journey towards achieving integration and wholeness. And so it's my quest with this channel to share some of the lessons that I've learned from this experience and from my wider readings. And so if you're interested in hearing the whole story, I kind of give you a brief summary in this video. You can check out the book that I wrote about this experience. Who is this channel for? This channel is for lifelong learners. This channel is for those who are interested in spiritual growth. This channel is for the open-minded. This channel is for those who like to maybe think outside the box. And this channel is for those who love ideas but are not necessarily in love with ideology. So if that's you, then stay tuned.